Most parents don't realize this, but if your child reaches age 5 without developing one specific foundation skill, learning will feel like climbing a mountain for them. Not because they're not smart, not because they're lazy, not because they have ADHD, but because their brain missed the early wiring phase where learning becomes natural, effortless, and even enjoyable. And here's the scary part. You can buy the best toys, enroll them in the best school, pay for the best tutors, and still watch them struggle, simply because this one thing wasn't built early enough. According to child development experts, the first 5 years are not just cute years, they are brain-building years. The brain is literally creating connections at a speed it will never repeat again. And whatever your child practices most during this time becomes the brain's default setting. That's why some kids walk into school and instantly thrive, while other kids feel overwhelmed, distracted, emotional, and slow, even when they are equally intelligent. Today, I'm going to show you what that missing foundation is, why most parents accidentally destroy it without realizing, and exactly how you can build it starting today, even if your child is already close to 5. And I'm warning you, once you hear this, you'll never look at learning problems the same way again. Let's start with the biggest truth most parents don't want to hear. Learning is not mainly about intelligence. It's not mainly about memory. It's not mainly about discipline. The number one foundation for learning is something far more basic, and it's something your child either builds before age 5, or they spend the next 10 years fighting to catch up. And that foundation is emotional regulation. Yes, emotional regulation. The ability to handle frustration, boredom, confusion, failure, and waiting without shutting down, melting down, or escaping. According to psychologists and early childhood researchers, the brain cannot learn efficiently when it feels unsafe, stressed, or overwhelmed. A child can have the best teacher in the world, but if their nervous system is in panic mode, their brain goes into survival mode, and learning stops. This is why so many children are called slow learners when they were actually overwhelmed learners. Their brain isn't weak, their brain is stressed. Now, some parents might think, okay, but my child is emotional. That's normal. Kids cry, kids get angry, and yes, it is normal. But here is the difference between a child who will struggle in school and a child who will thrive. A thriving child feels emotions, but they can return back to calm quickly. A struggling child feels emotions and gets stuck there. They spiral, they explode, they freeze, they shut down, they refuse, they avoid, and over time, this becomes their personality, their identity, and their learning style. That's why teachers often say, he's smart, but he doesn't apply himself, or she's capable, but she gives up easily, or he understands, but he can't focus. What they're really describing is a child whose emotional system is controlling their brain. And the reason this matters so much before age 5 is because that's when the brain is building its executive function system. Executive function is basically the CEO of the brain. It's the part that helps your child focus, plan, control impulses, follow instructions, and handle frustration. And the shocking thing is that executive function does not grow from worksheets, flashcards, or apps. It grows from real-life emotional experiences, where the child feels something difficult and learns to recover. This is why two kids can have the same IQ, the same school, the same teacher, but one becomes a high achiever and the other becomes a chronic struggler. One child's brain learned how to stay calm while working. The other child's brain learned to panic, quit, and resist. This is also why so many parents accidentally sabotage their child's learning future while thinking they were helping. For example, imagine your child is building a puzzle and gets frustrated. They throw the pieces. They say, I can't do it. Most parents either rescue them by doing the puzzle for them, or they scold them by saying, stop acting like a baby. Both reactions are understandable, but both reactions are damaging. When you rescue, your child learns, if something is hard, I need someone to save me. When you scold, your child learns, when I feel frustration, I'm bad, and both of those lessons weaken emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is built when the child experiences frustration and is guided through it without being saved or shamed. That is the golden middle path. That is what builds mentally strong learners. Let's talk about what emotional regulation actually looks like in real life. It looks like a child who can sit with a book even when the words are hard. It looks like a child who can listen to instructions without instantly reacting. It looks like a child who can make a mistake and try again instead of crying. It looks like a child who can lose a game without having a meltdown. It looks like a child who can wait their turn without screaming. It looks like a child who can hear no and recover. And that is the secret behind learning. Because learning is basically constant discomfort. Learning is confusion. Learning is mistakes. Learning is delayed reward. Learning is boredom sometimes. And if a child cannot emotionally tolerate discomfort, they will avoid learning at all costs. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Many parents today are raising children in a way that makes emotional regulation weaker, not because they're bad parents, but because modern parenting has become fear-based and convenience-based. We don't want our kids to cry. We don't want tantrums. We don't want stress. We don't want conflict. So we try to create a smooth life, but a smooth life creates a fragile brain. According to child psychologists, resilience is not built by avoiding discomfort. Resilience is built by facing small discomfort daily and learning to recover. And the earlier the child practices this, the stronger the brain becomes. This is why the Japanese approach to early brain development is so powerful. Japanese parenting culture, in many cases, focuses heavily on building patience, routine, self-control, and emotional discipline from a very young age, not through harsh punishment, but through structure and repetition. Many Japanese preschools emphasize group responsibility, simple routines, and calm behavior. Kids learn to wait. They learn to follow systems. They learn to control impulses. They learn that emotions are normal, but they are not the boss. And over time, this creates children who are mentally strong, emotionally stable, and able to handle academic pressure better. But let's be clear, this is not about copying Japan blindly. This is about understanding the science behind why their approach works. And the science is simple. The brain becomes what it practices. If your child practices instant gratification, the brain becomes impatient. If your child practices being rescued, the brain becomes dependent. If your child practices avoiding frustration, the brain becomes fragile. But if your child practices patience, recovery, calmness, and persistence, the brain becomes powerful. So now the big question is, what exactly do you need to do before age 5? What is the one thing that makes learning easier forever? The answer is this. You must teach your child to tolerate frustration without collapsing. That is the #1 foundation skill, the frustration tolerance muscle. Because frustration tolerance is the bridge between I can't and I can, it's the bridge between giving up and trying again. It's the bridge between emotional chaos and mental strength. And this is where most parents make a huge mistake. They think their job is to keep the child happy. But according to child development experts, your job is not to keep your child happy. Your job is to make your child capable. A capable child becomes a confident child. A confident child becomes a motivated learner. And a motivated learner becomes successful. But capability is built through small struggles, not through constant comfort. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how do I teach frustration tolerance without being harsh? Great question. Because if you do it wrong, you will either traumatize your child or create fear. And fear is not the goal. The goal is strength with safety. That's why I'm going to give you the Japanese-inspired method that is simple, gentle, and extremely effective. And it has 3 core parts: structure, patience practice, and calm repetition. The first part is structure. Many parents underestimate structure. They think structure is boring. They think structure kills creativity. But structure is what gives the brain safety. When a child knows what happens next, the brain relaxes. When the brain relaxes, learning becomes easier. This is why kids who grow up in chaotic homes often struggle with focus. Their brain is constantly scanning for danger, constantly anticipating uncertainty, and that destroys attention span. Structure is not strictness. Structure is predictability. It's routines. It's clear expectations. It's stable boundaries. It's "this is how we do things in this family." And one of the biggest Japanese parenting habits that supports brain growth is consistent daily routine. Wake up time, meal time, play time, learning time, sleep time. Not perfect, not military, but consistent. Because the brain loves rhythm, the brain learns faster in rhythm. That's why kids who have bedtime routines often have better emotional regulation. Their brain feels safe, and a safe brain learns faster. The second part is patience practice. Patience is not something kids magically develop. Patience is trained, just like muscles. And patience training starts with small waiting moments. For example, instead of instantly giving your child a snack the moment they ask, you say calmly, "Yes, you can have it." First, we wait 2 minutes, then you set a timer, and your child will complain. They might whine, they might beg, but you stay calm. You don't argue, you don't lecture, you simply say, "I know you want it. We are waiting. You can do it." That simple act is literally building their brain. It's teaching delayed gratification. It's strengthening the executive function system. It's telling the brain, you can survive waiting. And parents who do this consistently create children who can sit in class and wait their turn, who can listen to a teacher, who can stay focused longer. Because school is basically waiting all day. Waiting to be called on. Waiting for recess. Waiting for lunch. Waiting to go home. And if your child never practices waiting at home, school becomes torture. But if they practice waiting at home, school becomes normal. The third part is calm repetition. Calm repetition is the Japanese superpower. Many Japanese parents and teachers do not scream 10 times. They don't negotiate endlessly. They repeat the same rule in the same calm voice every time. That repetition builds discipline. It builds predictability. It builds emotional stability. For example, if the rule is toys go back in the box, then the rule stays the same. The parent doesn't turn it into a drama. They don't give 10 warnings. They don't explode. They simply repeat calmly, "Toys go back in the box," and they help the child do it every time. And over weeks, the child's brain learns the system. The child stops resisting. The child becomes cooperative, not because they were forced, but because the brain adapted. Now, let's talk about why calm repetition is so important. Because yelling creates fear. Fear creates temporary obedience, but long-term anxiety. Calm repetition creates respect. Respect creates long-term discipline. When your child sees that your emotions are stable, their brain learns stability. When your child sees that you don't lose control, they learn not to lose control. Children learn emotional regulation mainly by watching emotional regulation. And this is where so many parents accidentally fail their child before age 5. They react emotionally to the child's emotions. The child screams, the parent screams back. The child cries, the parent panics. The child refuses, the parent threatens. This teaches the child one thing: emotions control the house. And then that child goes to school and emotions control the classroom. They become the kid who can't sit still, can't handle correction, can't handle rules. Not because they're bad, because they were trained to be emotionally reactive. Now here's the most powerful part. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to become a robotic parent. You don't need to be strict all the time. You simply need to build one daily habit that trains your child's brain. And that habit is this: let them struggle slightly while you stay calm. For example, if your child is trying to put on shoes and they struggle, don't jump in instantly. Sit near them, watch, let them try, let them get frustrated. Then say calmly, "Try again. I'm here." If they throw the shoe, don't yell. Say, "Shoes are not for throwing. We try again." If they cry, say, "I know." It's hard. Your hands are learning. That phrase alone is powerful. Your hands are learning because it teaches the child that struggle is not failure. Struggle is learning. And that mindset is what creates lifelong learners. Another example is drawing. If your child draws something and says, "It's ugly," don't instantly say, "No, it's perfect." Instead say, "It doesn't look how you wanted." That's okay. That means your brain is growing. That teaches them to tolerate imperfection. And kids who tolerate imperfection become kids who practice more. And kids who practice more become kids who learn faster. Another example is reading. If your child is learning letters and gets bored, don't force them for 1 hour. But don't quit instantly either. Say, "We will do 2 more minutes." 2 minutes is small, but it trains endurance. And endurance is the secret ingredient of intelligence. Most smart kids are not smarter because of genetics. They are smarter because they can stay with a task longer. And this is the painful truth. Many parents today accidentally raise children who quit quickly. They quit homework. They quit sports. They quit friendships. They quit reading. They quit learning. Not because they're weak, because quitting became their coping strategy. And that coping strategy was built early. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, "My child is already 4 or 5, and I didn't do this," don't panic, because the brain is still flexible. The first 5 years are the strongest window, but it's not the only window. You can still build emotional regulation and frustration tolerance at any age. It just takes more consistency. So here's the practical Japanese-inspired method you can start today. It's simple and it works fast. First, choose one daily training moment, one moment where your child usually struggles or complains. It could be putting on clothes, cleaning toys, brushing teeth, waiting for food, sharing with siblings. Choose one, not 10. One, then decide that in that moment, you will become calm and consistent. You will not rescue instantly. You will not scream. You will guide. For example, if the training moment is brushing teeth, your child will resist. They will whine. They will run. They will say no instead of negotiating. You calmly say, "Teeth time. I will help you." Then you gently bring them. If they cry, you validate. "I know you don't want to. It's okay to be upset." Then you repeat the rule. We brush teeth, calm repetition, and you do it every day. After 1 week, resistance reduces. After 2 weeks, the brain adapts. After 1 month, it becomes routine. And what you just built is not only a toothbrushing habit. You built a discipline habit. You built emotional regulation. You built a child who learns that uncomfortable things are survivable. And this is exactly why kids in some cultures appear more disciplined. It's not magic. It's training, gentle training, consistent training, calm training. Now, let's talk about the biggest danger if you don't build this before age 5. The danger is not low grades. The danger is low confidence. Because children who struggle with emotional regulation start to believe something terrible about themselves. They start to believe they are bad at learning. They start to believe they are not smart. They start to believe they are different. And once a child believes that, they stop trying. And once they stop trying, their potential dies. Not because they lacked ability, because they lacked belief. And belief is built by small wins. That's why the best Japanese parenting idea is focusing on mastery of simple tasks. Folding clothes, cleaning up, carrying a plate, helping with small chores. Many parents think chores are punishment, but in brain science, chores are confidence training. When a child does a small responsibility and completes it, their brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is the motivation chemical. It creates a feeling of "I can," and that "I can" becomes the foundation for academic motivation later. So if you want your child to become a fast learner, don't only teach letters, teach life skills. Teach small responsibilities. Teach patience. Teach recovery. Teach calmness. Because those skills create a brain that can handle school. Here's another mistake parents make. They give children constant entertainment. tablets, cartoons, YouTube, games. The child never experiences boredom, and boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the training ground for creativity and focus. According to child development experts, when children experience boredom, their brain learns to create its own stimulation. They learn imagination. They learn deep focus. They learn self-directed play. But when children are constantly entertained, their brain becomes addicted to high stimulation. Then school feels boring. Reading feels boring. Homework feels painful. And the child becomes restless. This is why many parents today think their child has attention problems when the child actually has overstimulation addiction. So one of the Japanese-inspired strategies is to reduce constant stimulation. More quiet play, more simple toys, more nature, more walking, more drawing, more building blocks, more real-world tasks, less fast dopamine. Because fast dopamine destroys attention span. Now, let's be honest. Parenting today is exhausting. Parents are tired. Parents are busy. Parents are stressed. And the easiest thing in the world is to give the child the phone. The easiest thing is to avoid tantrums. The easiest thing is to rescue them quickly. But the easiest path today becomes the hardest path later. And the hardest path today becomes the easiest path later. That is the truth of raising mentally strong learners. You pay now or you pay later. If you teach patience now, you avoid problems later. If you teach emotional regulation now, you avoid meltdowns later. If you teach frustration tolerance now, you avoid homework battles later. If you teach responsibility now, you avoid teenage laziness later. And if you remember one sentence from this entire video, remember this: your child doesn't need you to make life easy. Your child needs you to make them capable. So how do you know if your child is missing this foundation? Here are some early warning signs that learning will become harder if you don't act. If your child cannot wait even 1 minute without whining. If your child melts down when something doesn't go their way. If your child refuses new tasks quickly. If your child gives up fast. If your child becomes aggressive when frustrated. If your child cannot handle no. If your child struggles to follow simple routines. If your child needs constant stimulation. If your child cannot play independently. These are not signs of a bad child. These are signs of a brain that hasn't practiced regulation. And again, don't feel guilty. Most parents were never taught this. Most parents think discipline is about punishment. But discipline is actually about brain training. Discipline is about teaching the brain to handle discomfort. And you can do that with love. Let's talk about exactly what to say when your child is frustrated. Because words matter. According to psychologists, the phrases you repeat become your child's internal voice. So instead of saying, "Stop crying," say, "I see you're upset. Let's breathe." Instead of saying, "You're okay," say, "It's hard, but you can handle it." Instead of saying, "Let me do it," say, "Try again. I'm here." Instead of saying, "You always do this," say, "Your feelings are big, but your body can calm down." Instead of saying, "Why are you acting like this?" say, "Tell me what's wrong," with words. These phrases teach the brain emotional language. Emotional language is a superpower. Children who can name emotions can control emotions. And this is why the Japanese culture often emphasizes calmness, not because emotions are bad, but because calmness is a skill, and skills can be trained. Now, I want to give you one powerful exercise that takes only 5 minutes a day and can literally change your child's learning future. It's called frustration practice play. Choose one activity that is slightly challenging for your child. It could be a puzzle, building blocks, drawing a shape, sorting colors, or even tying shoes. Then sit with them for 5 minutes. Your job is not to help them succeed. Your job is to help them stay calm while struggling. When they get frustrated, you coach. Breathe. Try again. When they want to quit, you encourage. One more try. When they cry, you validate. I know it's hard, and then you celebrate effort, not result. You didn't give up. That's strength. That is how you build a strong brain. If you do this daily, your child's frustration tolerance will improve dramatically, their confidence will rise, their learning speed will increase, and the best part is, your child will start to enjoy challenges instead of fearing them. And here's something that might surprise you. Kids don't become confident when you praise them constantly. They become confident when they survive difficulty. Confidence is not given. Confidence is earned through experience. And the earlier they earn it, the stronger they become. Now, I want to talk directly to the parent who is feeling worried right now. Maybe your child is already struggling. Maybe they cry during homework. Maybe they get angry easily. Maybe teachers have already complained. Maybe you feel like you failed. Listen carefully. You didn't fail. You just didn't have the information. And now you do. And your child is not broken. Their brain is simply untrained in this one area. And training is possible. It's not too late. The brain is always changing. But you must start today. Because every day your child practices emotional chaos, it becomes stronger. And every day your child practices emotional regulation, it becomes stronger. So start small. Pick one routine. Pick one training moment. Stay calm. Repeat the rule. Validate emotions. Guide them through frustration. Reduce overstimulation. Add responsibility. And be consistent. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. And if you do this, something beautiful happens. Your child begins to change. They become calmer. They become more cooperative. They begin to focus longer. They begin to try again. They begin to believe in themselves. And once a child believes in themselves, learning becomes easier forever. Because school is not only about books. School is about life. Life will frustrate them. Life will disappoint them. Life will challenge them. And the child who learns emotional regulation early becomes a child who can handle life. And that is the real Japanese secret. It's not about strictness. It's not about pressure. It's about training the mind to stay calm in discomfort. It's about building inner strength early. So if you want your child to learn faster, read better, listen better, focus better, and succeed in school, stop focusing only on academics. Focus on the foundation: emotional regulation, frustration tolerance, patience, responsibility, calm routines. Those are the real brain builders. And I want you to imagine something. Imagine your child at age 10. They're sitting at a desk. Homework is hard. The math problem is confusing. The reading assignment is long. Most kids would complain, cry, avoid, or quit. But your child takes a breath. They stay calm. They try again. They don't panic. They don't collapse. They keep going. And that one moment will decide their future. That moment will decide whether they become a struggler or a high achiever. And that moment is built today. In the small moments, in the waiting, in the routines, in the calm repetition, in the gentle struggle. Because the truth is, the future is not built in big speeches. It's built in tiny habits. So if you've been blaming yourself, stop. If you've been blaming your child, stop. Instead, start training, start building, start guiding. And remember, the greatest gift you can give your child is not a perfect childhood. The greatest gift you can give your child is a strong mind. Because toys break, schools change, teachers come and go, but a strong brain stays forever. And if you start this before age 5, you are not just making learning easier, you are making life easier. You are giving your child a future where they don't fear challenges, they don't collapse under pressure, they don't give up on themselves. You are giving them the greatest advantage any child can have. And years from now, when they face something hard, when they feel like quitting, when life pushes them, they will hear a voice inside their head, not a voice of fear, not a voice of panic, but a calm voice saying, "It's hard, but I can handle it." And that voice is you.